Access to safe drinking water is crucial for survival. However, billions around the world still lack access to clean water and sanitation. Many are forced to rely on dirty or polluted water sources, harming the health of those who consume them. Water forms a crucial part of Earth's ecosystems, collectively known as the biosphere. The biosphere ensures that life flourishes on our planet, including many of the creatures humanity depends upon for food and other needs. Thus, our water sources, rivers, waterways, and oceans must be protected from human impacts so that they may benefit both humanity and nature. That's why we've invited experts on water and the biosphere to share their insights about how we can solve the pressing issues connected to these topics. Dr. Suzie Husain, the founder and chair of the Soil Health Expert Council, and Mr. Abdul Khurshid Bhatti, the founder and CEO of the Association for Humanitarian Development, both presented and took questions from the audience.
I first thank all the presenters. It was wonderful to listen to them. So let's start our question and answer sessions. I would like to ask a question to everyone that when you preserve water and when you want to protect soil, what comes in your mind as the first point? This question is to everyone. Please feel free to answer.
I find this attention during 2005. 2005, I was living in Hyderabad city, Sindh, Pakistan. But when I was living Hyderabad, Sindh, Pakistan, 2005, some 500 children death via gastro diarrhea in Civil Hospital, Hyderabad. That saddened me. And see, here we, Dr. Sui and Hasita and Thrive Project leaders, we are big leaders. And we are working this in last many years. But if the children are dying and no solution, that is not a way. So this is the time, that was time. Another story is I am the agronomist. I'm not a water technologist. But 2005, I took the responsibility to introduce some of the model. And we find this model, we taken this model to university. We organized 100 Nadi filter tests. And when University Oxfam GB, Asian Office Oxfam GB, they happy to see, oh, this is a remarkable in rural site, in areas where people living in very poor villages, they giving the 95 to 99%. So this was the time in 2006 when we started with 1 Nadi filter, 10 Nadi filter, 100 Nadi filter, and then we gone with the higher. And second model is our CBO formation, community mobilization, and we set many unrest areas, wars in KP, in Punjab, in Sindh, and wherever we saw the people are unrest, people are in disasters, then we go to help with the CBO. And what CBO did? CBO arrange all. They do trainings, they care their people, and they care their lands, they care their all. And one thing I want to share with you people, 3 districts, Chhatta, Badin, Sajawal. If you go to back to the 2010 and search the poor districts of Pakistan, you will in Sindh, you will find Chhatta, Badin, Sajawal, Tharpalkar. But amazing in 2024 data, Chhatta, Badin, Sajawal is no more poor because they using kitchen gardening, fresh vegetables. They're using smoke-free cooking. They're using safe drinking water. They install the trees at their villages. So I have 1,000 pictures where the trees is standing and inside the Nadi filter and their cooking stoves. So amazing this, how people save lifetime and people save and many more. So this is about my simple story.
Thank you very much, sir, for your answer. Dr. Suzie, would you like to add something?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Irteza, for the question. I think from my experience, right, the first thing that I looking at is the soil structure. right? So this is how we preserve or save our soil, because many people think that water infiltration or water preservations start with the building the drains, right? Ponds, irrigation systems. So those are very useful, but before that we must take a very basic questions that can soil receive the rainfall, right? So I have seen this many time in our tropical soil. So after the heavy rainfalls, one area can absorb water quite well because the soil has a good water cover, roots, organic matters, or pore spaces. But another nearby, right, maybe with the compacted or exposed soil, so will produce runoffs very quickly. So I think in the healthier soil, right, so the water enter the portfolio profile, spots the roots and slow move through the system, right? So for my practical answer is, if we want to protect the water, we must first protect the soil abilities to infiltrate and store and even the filtered water. So that means that we must protect the soil cover, reduce the compaction, definitely improve the organic matters, or strengthen the root system, and to keep the soil biology water, right? So I think in a simple words, the water preservations is start before the river, which means that actually it start in the soil. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much for your answer. I think the first question is for Mr. Abdul Khurshid Bhatti, and the question is asked by Mr. Isaac, and he wants to know how effective is Nadi filters in cleaning water, especially when it comes to be contaminated by minerals or heavy metals. Mr. Khurshid Bhatti, please can you answer this question?
Yes, we experienced in Balochistan, Nasirabad region, where the mountain water comes through the mountain and very muddy, very muddy. But Nadi filters it and clean all the metals. But what happens when you put the upper 2 to 3 inches of sand, upper layer 2 3 inches, wash and put it again? So that is not an issue with the Nadi filter, and Nadi filter can remove every kind of biological contamination, metals, and every kind of waste.
Thank you so very much, sir. I would like to request Dr. Susie to speak about how floods, heats, and droughts can make soil vulnerable.
Okay, thank you for the questions. I think this is a very critical and very important right now because, for example, right now we are start facing the El Nino, right? So usually what we did was we will for to make it can we understand that now the soil are vulnerable and just not only happen only from one event, right? So it happens that when the repeated climate pressure weakens the soil system. So I think during the floods or intense rainfall, right? So the soil is exposed to physical stress. If the soil weak the structure, low organic matter, poor root system, right? So the water will move the across the surface instead entering the profile, right? So this will cause the erosion, sediment, even movement on the nutrient loss and polluting the entering the drains and rivers. And for example, on the during heats, right? So the soil organic matter decompose very faster, and microbial activities become more stressed, and the surface soil become dry or exposed, right? So that if there is no vegetation cover, so the soil temperature definitely will rise very quickly. So this will affect on the roots, microbe, or even on the moisture retention, right? So from my field experience, I think this is very common in our tropical soil, right? So the same rainfall can give two different outcomes, right? So I think in the field, maybe with a good cover crop, roots have a good organic matter, or even water that enter the soil and supports the crop, right? So for example, another is the compacted or exposed field, right? So the key is, I think the climate extremes do not only damage the crops. So usually they will damage on the soil abilities to regulate the water, carbon, nutrient, and also lead to the pollutions lah. So that's why I think the soil protection must focus on the 5 things, which is that we need to make sure that soil must be covered, reduce the compaction, maintain the organic matters, protect the root system, and also keep the soil biology active. Right. So in simple words, that to a vulnerable soil turns the climate into disaster. So usually the healthy soil act as a buffer. Right. So I think this is from my perspective. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like to ask Mr. Abdul Khurshid Bhatti that how the Nadi filter is helping to achieve zero plastic waste and zero plastic pollution in this world. Please, sir, would you like to answer?
The year 2018 was very good. Very good when I find the 7 people in my office at the morning 11:30 a.m. and they came to share me that they all are the doctor. They are the experienced doctors and they using Nadi filters. And they pledge me lot of donations and say we are saved ourselves from the plastic bottle, water, the rich bottle we were purchasing that time 210 rupees per bottle. 210 rupees per bottle means every day they use the 600 rupees, 650 rupees plastic bottles, big bottles, 80 liters. Because every family, they are 5 to 6 people, they need at least 3 bottles, 40, 50 liters daily. So that clicked me a lot. And then I asked people to search the people using in city areas. Because rural side, they don't purchase the bottles. Nothing to do with the bottles. They use the contaminated water, boil it, or other sources. They don't have the money. But in cities, oh my God, bottles every family is purchasing, and the big problem is that when we travel, we purchase 1 liter, half-liter water, half-liter water, and I visited the Korea, China, Thailand. I visited Nepal, many countries. You're doing the meeting and the bottles on the table. So how we using the plastic bottles? And see, the days are going, years coming, temperature rise. Everyone saying temperature is rise. But what people are doing, I am not happy. Clean air is nothing. Wash is nothing. Solutions needed to tackle it. And see, we have a data 290 families, rich families in Hyderabad. They saved from the bottles, they saved from the market filters, and they throw out the heavy filters, market filters, and they install our filters. So this is a very game changer, and we are very thankful for the Million Live collectives. They adopted AHD Nadi filter last week. They share me the email that we will help millions. So this is will be great game. And what they write, the Million Life Collective, they say this Nadi filter is effective against the plastic, effective against the bottled water. So this is I didn't learn some 5 years back. I didn't know that it helping such a way, but it is a great game if we all apply this Nadi filter. See, the Thrive office will be clean from the plastic.
Thank you very much, sir. I would like to request Dr. Suzie. Can you please tell us that how soil actually works as a storage for water and also for contaminants, and how it internally actually works. Does it works all together? Thank you.
Thank you, the monitor, for the question. Right, for your question on the, I think this is very good question, because soil does not only store the water, right, contaminants as a two separate system, right? So usually it will works together as one physical, chemical, and biological filtering system, right? So this is where the framework that has been developed, right? So which means that we design it to make it all these domains are connecting each other, which is that once you did the quantification, that will lead you to the soil level, which is the S3, S2, or S1, which is the S1 that we want is, for example, on the regenerative soil. Right. So, for the first one, we need to understand the soil store water through the pore space. Right. So I think it's a little bit technical, but so we have a large pores and small pores. Right. So the large pores usually will allow the waters to move and downward and after the rainfall. So the small pores usually will hold the water more tightly, right? So the roots and microbes can use it slowly or whenever it needed, right? So I think this is why the soil structure is important. And if the soil compacted, for example, right? So the soil pores definitely will collapse and soil water cannot enter, right? So it will become lead to the runoff, right? And then the second one is soil can store or slow down the contaminant, the surface reactions. So which mean, for example, like clay particles, we have organic matter, iron, and aluminium oxides. So even on the soil, our soil microbes, soil mineral have charged surface, right? So I think all this can hold the nutrient and also some contaminants. For example, on the aluminium or some metals, right? Phosphorus can attach to soil particle. So organic matter will bend or bind in certain pesticide or even on the organic pollutants, right? But I think this is one important limitation, which is that soil is just not an unlimited buffer. One, the soil is overloaded, right? So which means that has limit threshold. So and or even degraded or compacted, right? So which means that our soil has a problematic, right? So all these properties or these benefits that have lost, right? So it loses buffering capacity. So then contaminant move and run off or leach into the groundwater. All right. So I think yes, it can works all together. So the soil is an integrated living filter, right? But only if its structure, chemistry, or biology are still functioning. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much for your wonderful answer. I would like to request Dr. Suzie. Ma'am, can you please tell us an example that if the protection of soil fails, what will happen to the biosphere, and how can we help to protect the soil? From your slides, can you please share us your experience?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Teresa, for the question. Yes, I think a simple example is a tropical hillside or farm area after heavy rainfall, right? So when the soil is protected by the vegetation, right? So the roots, organic matter, and the good structure, rainwater can enter in the soil. Right? So the soil store part of the waters, right? So it filters it and slowly release into the landscape, right? So the biosphere remains stable if the soil is in good health condition. But if the soil protection fails, right, which means, for example, if the land bare, compacted, eroded, or low in organic matter, so the rainfall cannot enter into the soil properly. So if it will move on the surface, and when then we get runoff, it's erosion, sediment in rivers, nutrient can be lost, right? So I think the impact is not only on the farm, so it will reflect on the wider biosphere, which means that rivers, for example, become muddy or polluted, right? So the aquatic life is disturbed. I think this is one example in Malaysia. Usually in we planting the durian because our durian crops are most planted in a hill area, and especially on the 3,000, 5,000 acres of the durian, right? So maybe even the land will be has been divided into the zone by zoning. Even there is a significant result, especially on the productivity, flowering induction, even a zone, the durian that planted in the zone A into the zone D because of variabilities of this widest biosphere. Even when they carry out on the water quality assessment on the our water, right? So we can read the result has been shown, or there is a leaching of some nutrients, very significant, and I think so. This is one of the example that I have experienced, right? So what I can conclude from this situation, right? So we need when the soil fail, so the biosphere uh, can lose one on its main regulating system. So how we want to protect our soil? So this is very practical. I think this is five actions that usually I has recommend to our farmers in Malaysia. First, we need to make sure keep the soil must covered with the plant or any residue or even cover crops, right? So the best soil is highly vulnerable, right? And then the second, we need to protect the roots because the roots can create the channels for the water and feed the soil microbes. And then the third one in build the organic matter because it improve on the irrigation, water retention or biological activity. And we need to reduce on the compaction and erosion by managing the slopes, drainage or land protection carefully. And the last one, avoid on the overloading of the soil with the nutrients, chemical, all right, or the waste beyond the buffering capacity. Yes, protecting the soil is just not only protecting the land actually, right? So we are right now protecting the water cycle, carbon cycle, biodiversity, and also the human safety. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like to request Dr. Susie to answer her question. I have a question for you. So, um, what is the sanitation efforts for the treatment of plants for the soil, and how, in what point, we will understand that this soil needs sanitation? Would you like to answer, please?
The word of sanitation, right, usually used for human waste, right, on the water treatment for in soil and plant system. Sanitation means something that's slightly different, right? So in the soil management, sanitation means that we reducing the biological, chemical, and physical contamination risk before they spread through the soil and water plant system, right? So it can involve in three things. For example, first, plant and field sanitation. This means that we remove the disease, plant residue, infected roots, rotten fruits, right, or contaminated mulch. For example, in farms, right? So the if the infected plant material left in the field, fungi, bacteria, nematodes, or pests can continue to survive in the soil and infect in the next crop. And the second is soil contamination sanitation. This is when the soil may contain excess salts or contain heavy metals, pesticide, residue, sewage contamination, or even on pathogen or polluted runoff, right? So I think here the sanitation is may involve drainage correction or liming, organic matter management, or phytoremediation, which is I think this is a common practice right now. And another some kinds of new technology on the microbial remediation, or in a severe cases maybe we need remove or isolate contaminated soil. And the third one is the water pathway sanitation. This is very important because if the runoff, for example, from the livestock, right, waste or sewage, landfill, or factories or poorly managed farm that enters into the soil. So what it happened was the soil become a pollution pathway, right? So we must manage the drains or buffer strips or even on the vegetation covers, right? So now at point that we need to know the soil need the sanitation. So we suspect the soil sanitation is needed when we see repeated warning signs. For example, the plants keep getting on the disease infestation after the even on the normal treatment. There is on the presence on the root on the rod, the roots, for example, if we can see that roots become rotten, black or abnormal, or even the presence of the bad smell also indication of the presence of the bad smell, for example, on the disease or water law, right? So anaerobic soil conditions. I think but for my experience and my professional advice is do not wait until the plant collapse usually, right? So it must be started or begin when the contamination already is identified, right? So for example, we can see at the vegetable farm contaminated its irrigation water, right? So we just not only treat the plant, we must check whether where the water source is coming from, what is the soil microbial risk on the drainage, or whether the pathogens can enter the edible crops, right? So I think the correct approach is we need to identify the source, diagnose on the soil condition, and stop the contamination pathway, right? Then we need to restore the soil function, right? So I think it just not only in the sanitation words, it just not only we do the cleaning soil, right? We need to make sure that the system, the soil water plant system must become a reservoir and also a pathway for disease or pollution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I also think that what you're saying is really true. I will go back to Mr. Abdul Khurshid Bhatti. Sir, we are seeing that most of your participants are women, giving training to them. So, what kind of barrier or social issues you're facing, and how are you actually overcoming those barriers? Please, can you enlighten us?
Yes, yes. Mm. See, she started this Nadi filter and engaged with the women. Our women team, this is set goal to at least reach the headed families. For every family written name, their CNSI number, we given this Nadi filter to the women. And women has a that in the cities, women are and leaders are many. But what we are producing, we producing the women leaders in the rural areas. And this is our prime goal to improve women, to end the genders, to end the crisis of women, to end the crisis, every crisis.
Thank you very much. I will get back to Dr. Susie. Ma'am, there's a saying that we do need to care about soil health because human health is more important. Now, I think soil health is important. Will you please say your experience on these comments?
Okay. I think this is a very, the some kinds of the skeptical talks that why we need to focus on the soil health instead of human health is more important, right? I would fully disagree with this saying because soil health is directly connected to human health, right? So we cannot separate them. So if the soil is degraded, right, the impact will move into the food, water, air, climate, even on the disease risk, right? So first, we need the soil will affect on the food quality, right? So for example, healthy soil will support in terms of the better growth, nutrient cycling, the crop resilience, right? So if the soil weak or the soil compacted, right? So the plant may not access the nutrients properly, right? So then we got the productivity and sometimes the poorer nutritional quality, right? So the second is it will affect in terms of the water quality. Why? So if the soil cannot filtrate the water, pollutants or sediment, right? Or even the pesticide and pathogens, so or it can move into the drains, rivers and groundwater, and that become the human health issue, right? So the third one is on the soil will affect on the climate and also on the heat. So soil with the organic matter or we have a good soil health, right? So we can store the water, carbon, right? So and the bare or degraded soil will increase the heat, right? The runoff, the greenhouse gas risk. So all this, so my opinion is very clear that soil health is just not only an agriculture issue actually, right? It's a public health issues. So if we want to have a healthy food or clean water, climate resilient, even the same safe landscapes, right? So I think we need to make sure that um, it must be protect the soil. We must protect the soil. And I think in a simple words that we can say, human health is that just not only start from the hospital. It start in the soil. It can start from water, food, or even environment that support the life. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Mr. Abdul Khurshid Bhatti, I would like to request you that from your experience, what you think that will be able to use this Nadi filter in some other global contexts, in other continents, rather than in Pakistan, in South Asian countries or in African countries? What are the geographical barriers you will face and how to overcome them? From your experience, can you please share your thoughts, sir?
We are the people, we training the peoples, and every day we find the emails, messages, WhatsApp, and my website contain my number, and we find many emails and messages. And amazing, I want to share with you DR Congo, Liberia, Guyana, Sierra Leone, Zambia, East and African countries, some 17 countries, NGOs, local NGOs signed the MOU with me. And they raising small number of 150, 60 these Nadi filters. And we then connect to the other donors like Qatar Charity and others and many others. So this is a game changer again. And the big learning for me was Umande Trust Kenya. Umande Trust Kenya is the organization, former president, and that based in the slum Kibria of Nairobi. 2019, when I was in Kisumu in one water conference, so I gone there and they invite me and we installed one Nadi filter at the office of Umande Trust Kenya. And it's amazing. After 2 years, I asked the question to the Benazir Moto. She is the CEO of Umande Trust. I say, "Oh, madam, how are you? What is going on?" She say, "We are daily looking your Nadi filter. Your Nadi filter is placed in front of me in my office. See how people love it." And I never saw that anyone put this Nadi filter in his office, in big office. And 2020, she said, "We are keen to replicate it larger scale. You send your two staff, we will send you the tickets, and you come to train them." So this is a magic of globally our engagements. We are the charity, we not for profit. We do not such funds to initiate locally ourselves, but people invite us, people help us, and then we reach the globally. And the big news is that some 17 countries we will start, and 2025 report we will share that we are now internationally working in 17 countries.
Thank you very much, sir. I would like to request Dr. Susie. So, ma'am, what about the SHE framework we learned from your presentation slides? Would you please tell us details about this framework?
I think this is my favorite question because I would like to introduce about the SHE framework. So actually the SHE framework is soil health evaluation framework, which is that we quantify the soil framework, which is that just not only do the soil interpretation, we will have our indicators, we will have our interpretation, which is that can be translated into the farm management decision, or even for the governance, even for ESG, and also for the input subsidy, right? But so the reason I developed the SHE framework is because that right now in many soil assessments, we still look at the soil very narrowly, right? So we often just only check on the nutrients, soil pH, organic carbon, right? These all parameters are useful, but I think this is not enough, right? So as we know, the soil is just not only the chemical medium, right? It is a living system. So the SHE framework will help us diagnosis the soil in layers, right? So the first layers in the soil chemistry, physical biology. The four layers in the root zone function, whether the roots can grow deeply, access the water, absorb nutrients, and survive in stress environment. And the last layer is a landscape and climate risk, which means that on the slope, rainfall intensity. So the final layers will help the farmers, industry, ESG, or policy, even on the water security and the climate adaptation, is making a decision and governance, right? So this is a very mean to our farmers, and so the SHE framework is just not only asking what is in the soil, right? So it is more important like what the is the able soil able to do, right? So I think this is that two difference that I try to differentiate with the existing soil framework, which is that we design or we translate to help the soil data into the soil intelligence. What the soil intelligence is about, it designed to help farmers, agronomists, or company, or even the policymaker that move from basic soil testing to functional, which means that functional soil diagnosis, that we want to protect the water, carbon, biodiversity, right? So I think the main message is that SHE is just not only the framework that we design for measuring the soil. I think this is a framework for understanding the soil as a living infrastructure. Right. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Abdul Khurshid Bhatti. What is the lesson learned from the experience you have? What is the lesson we can take?
Yes, it's I say all the humanitarian community to go to the poor rural communities, to go to the far and scattered areas and see, to sit with the people, to help them with the solutions. I assure you, we can solve agriculture problem, sanitation problem, safe drinking water, food security, health and all. Women leadership, education, and all is available in the village areas. In one village. And second most thing I want to share with you, I made my office in a rural area, one field office, marble and double story and wonderful office. The way in rural people comes there, they say, oh, that is a very good office. And then I teach the people, this I made for you people. You learn and see, you become a good leader in the future. And I'm very happy that the remote area, coastal area, now IUCN is connected with me, multiple people connected with me, and we are helping the rural poor communities. I am thinking that the future are in the rural areas.
Thank you very much, sir, for your answer. Now, my question is to Dr. Susie. So, we believe that the practice to protect environment comes from person to family, to social, to community, to global level. So this is how it starts. So what practice would you suggest to the audiences that they can individually do to protect soil? This is my question to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moderator, for the questions. Right, I think this is more on the practical, right? So, which means that environmental protection just not only start at the policy level, right? So, it start with the daily behavior, then it becomes on the family culture, right? Community practice, and also the eventually become a public expectation. Right, for individual, I would suggest on 5 practical actions. Alright, so for the first, just need to make sure, please do not leave the soil bare. If you manage any land, garden, alright, farm or community space, right, you need to make sure the soil must be covered with the plant, mulching, cover crops, right, or even organic residues, right. And then the second is reduce on the waste entering the soil and water system, which means that just not simply pour the chemicals or all detergents or even pesticides, right, without any assessment. So because people start thinking, I think pollution start at in factories, but actually it's household behavior also creates a small repeated pollution pathway, right? And then the third one, we need to separate the organic waste and return clean organic safely. Because, for example, right now we urge our public doing on the composting, on the kitchen waste, right? Use the leaf or organic garden residue, and which is that to rebuild the soil organic matter, but it must be in a clean compost, right? Not mixed with the plastics, metals, or chemical. And the fourth one is a plant and protect living roots, which is that we need to make sure that trees must be covered, just not only for the beauty or aesthetic purposes, right? We need to make sure that they cool the surface, protect the soil structure, and improve the water infiltration. And the last one, buy and support better land management practices. What it is, which means that consumer, we know they have the powers, right? We need to support the farmers, company, or even communities that protect the soil or reduce the chemical misuse, right? So, and I think the simple message is this, that we need to make sure that environmental protection actually is not a big things, right? It is about stopping the small damage that repeated happen from that daily basis that happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Abdul Khurshid Bhatti, the same question is to you. Please, sir, go ahead.
I want to say the international community that 3 activities they can adopt, 3 activities, and one Nadi filter, a second cooking stove, climate smart cooking stove, and tree plantation. And see, we can help poverty ending, we can help giving safe drinking water, we can help food and nutrition, and we can help a lot of. So these are the solution. Once we will give these solutions, the solution will run lifetime and long time. So this is my message and this is my idea. So so don't think that this is the idea of Khurshid, but this is the idea of the rural communities. This is the idea to regenerate, to make fertile land, to make nature-based solutions. These ideas, the nature-based solutions.
Thank you very much, sir. So the question answer session formally ends in here for this session, but we have the links. Please share your thoughts, your questions, and we have a segment for the best question. Only one question came from the audiences. So for with this, my session ends here. And I would like to request the host to take over the webinar. Thank you. Thank you all.